and you can like feel free to interrupt me and like ask questions or just things you think would be good or whatever. It's your channel, so.
Yeah, I'll think about it.
Yeah, if you see an opening.
Alright, go ahead. I find it crazy how you only have one missile Sunday, though. But go ahead.
Yeah, you'll see why.
Explain your
But
little
all right,
shit.
we're here talking about Purple Yellow Croc, who's probably my new favorite leader. That's right, Kyle. I probably like him more than Magellan.
That's straight up impossible. That is just straight up impossible. Like, actually.
Because Magellan's so ass, dude. That's most of why. But this leader's freaking awesome. He's I mean, what the community might say is that he's like a discount NL, but I think he's just NL with different tools, and like different effect, obviously. But so it's going to be during your opponent's turn once per turn. Anytime you minus, you're going to get that Dawn back active, and this effect comes into play with so many cards, whether it's off trigger or whether they're just on the field, like with 8-drop Croc, you just have a minus effect at all times. Same with Miss Wednesday. But it's going to be really hard for you to go down on Dawn by using events during your opponent's turn, but it also pairs really well with some of these cards, as you'll see, or as you probably already know. Like, people have probably already seen the Miss Wednesday. She's crazy. But I'll just go in order with what I have with the stack of cards in my hand. So I have one You're the One Who Should Disappear, which is like one of the most flexible cards I have in my deck in terms of like I could take it out and maybe replace it with like a 4th Okiku or a 2nd Miss All Sunday. But you run a lot of bricks in this deck, so there's like a lot of times that you will end up something to pitch for this, and if you see it in trigger, it'll just save you. That's why I don't really see it as a detriment to have it if I can fit it in the deck. Like, there's no reason to really not have it when you have a deck with this many bricks,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So that's why I have that at 1. But I mean, you know the effect. But you trash a card, you get plus 3k, and on trigger you just trash a card. But something some people might not know is if you're at 0 life, or if it's your last life and you have 0 cards in hand, you still gain a life. Because it reads on the card, you trash the card from your hand after you put the life on the top of your life area. Like, it's kind of crazy. So even if you're at 0 cards, that'll still heal you. But next is Weakness is a Sin. This one might be, I mean, like I said, I'm going on based off the stack I have in my hand, but yeah, like I have the physical deck in front of me.
Yeah.
But so Weakness is a Sin. This one's a hard sell, because I remember reading this card when like OPO4 first came out. I'm like, dude, this card sucks ass.
Yeah.
This card's so bad.
Yeah.
You just have Chaka getting freaking bodied in the art. But the reason this card is in the deck is one reason. It's Red Purple Law.
Oh, yeah.
And this card will just cancel Red Purple Law's turns sometimes if they like sequence improperly or they're not ready for it.
Yeah,
sometimes they'll play all their stuff, they'll minus your stuff's power, bottom deck something, and play everything and use up all their Dawn, and they're like, oh sick, now I have 4 or 5k swings. Just kidding. This nullifies like all of them. So that's why it's in the deck. It also has a ramp active trigger, which comes up more often than you might think. And I'll talk about curve later, but it could really help you with your curve if you trigger it sometimes, depending on the tools you have.
Purple Yellow Croc has his own You Can Be My Samurai. It sucked when it came out, but
yeah,
that's kind of good.
It's because it sucked when it came out, and now it's kind of good. True. Yeah, no one was using You Could Be My Samurai, dude.
Yep.
I remember we used it in the One Drops video,
Yep.
which you should link here, by the way.
I'll think about
But anyway, next we got the Blast Breath. We run this as a 2 of, and that's because paired with Weakness is a Sin, it becomes 4, and I just like having 8 defensive events. I feel like is a good amount for the deck, so that's why we have 2 Blast Breath. Typically it would be 4 Blast Breath and 4 Okamawe, but I wanted to fit these in, so we cut them in half, and it's working out for me, honestly, because there are times when the Blast Breath was kind of bricking in hand for when my opponent's just going wide and swinging 5s and 6s a ton. it's not as helpful because it kind of defends a taller hit, you know. But still got 2, and if you don't need it, you can trash it off this guy.
You can trash it
But,
off you can trash it off of the Enel event too.
Yeah, you can trash it off the Enel event. You can trash it off Miss Double Fingers on play. Like,
if you play her.
there's a couple ways. Well, I'll talk about her in a minute because you play her more than you might think.
Oh,
so next, obviously, we have Okamawe. That this card is ridiculously broken. I would never run it less than a 4 of in this deck because you're going to redirect an attack, just turn anything into a blocker. But the most broken play with this card is with Kikunojo.
Yeah.
Because you could just be at 0 life. Your opponent goes all in on an attack. This could be your only card in hand, and suddenly you just defended a 15k hit and gained a life. So right. This card's it's about survivability. This deck, we want that NL factor of like being ridiculously hard to kill, and this comes into play.
Yeah.
A ton for that. Not to mention the trigger, Dawn -1, draw 2 cards, which is free with leader effect, by the way. So if you already have, yeah, if you have like 1 or 2 in hand already, you should just trigger it and draw 2 cards. Like, it's pretty crazy. But if you don't already have one, I typically don't even trigger it, though, honestly, because the way that I play this deck, I like to live on the edge and think my opponent can kill me so that they don't go for my board and just slowly keep living and building advantage. But yeah, that's that card. That card's broken. And then we have 1 Raigo. You just KO any character, and on trigger, it's Yamato on play effect, minus the gaining a life.
Yellow's Red Rock.
Yeah. So just the trigger alone on this card, I feel warrants it in this deck because we don't have a lot of. We have mostly like trigger defense, as you'll see, but this is like trigger KOing something, you know.
Yeah.
But we have it as a 1 of in case. Because most of the time when you're at 1 life in this deck, you really just want to play a big body that's going to heal you to 2. That's usually going to be better than removing something on their board.
Yeah.
But if they're threatening lethal just by 1 body or something, then this is very playable because you just trash till you're at 1, and if you're already at 1, you don't have to trash anything. It KOs any friggin' character. So there's been a lot of times in like an El Ditto or something where it'll just like pop a really important body for them that I needed for tempo. But card's really good. It's also like if you emergency need to get rid of a blocker to get lethal or something, then it's there. But I really like it as a 1 of because with more than 1, it gets kind of bricky.
Yeah, I mean even if you only have 1, you have the Katakuri to get rid of big bodies too.
Yep. Yeah. So. And we'll get to that too. Yeah, but Katakuri is another really big piece in our removal. But next to my stack here, I have Miss Valentine. So there's a couple ways you can run this deck. I've seen people run the Big Mom Pirates engine in this deck as opposed to Baroque Works, or just not have a searcher at all. I will never, unless something ridiculous comes out, I will never not run the Baroque Works package in this deck. And there's a couple reasons why. New cards came out like Miss Wednesday and Mr. Tubon Clay that are both searchable by her. Yeah. And also some people might think he's not searchable because it says former Baroque Works.
Yeah.
But if you read Miss Valentine's wording, it says just one card with Baroque Works in its types.
Yeah.
So as long as it says Baroque Works on there, then we're good. So
like the,
she can search this.
It's like that one other sub archetype, the freaking Whitebeard allies. You can still search the Whitebeard stuff off of the Whitebeard searchers off of them. Did you know that?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I didn't actually, because nobody
runs Ors Junior.
Much. Yeah. Well, I mean, Ors Junior I've seen it in a couple of decks, but yeah, pretty niche. But yeah, Miss Valentine, she searches herself because it's not other than Miss Valentine. She searches herself. Yep. She searches this. 2 out of 3 of your 2Ks, and a lot of your events.
Yeah.
So, yeah, true. Everything in my top row. Everything in my top row, all the events except Blast Breath and the yellow events. So, really good. But the other reason why is you could be at 1 life. 1 life, no cards in hand. If she's your life, you can trigger her out, search into Okamawe and just survive any hit
Yeah.
as long as you have a Dawn up. Well, just kidding. You don't have to have a Dawn up because when you trigger her out,
-1, the leader will.
You get one active.
Yeah. That's true.
So like, she's an insane like, in lethal scenarios where my opponent would have had the game otherwise. She'll just trigger and find me an Okamawe and I just live. So it's like, yeah, really, really good searcher. Also good to play on curve if you go second. So that's her. Next we got Miss Wednesday. You already know. When your opponent attacks, you Dawn -1 and you ramp because combined with her effect and leader ability, you just get an extra Dawn. Both active, mind you. So even if you've already ramped as much as you need to, she's still really useful because you can use all the Dawn in your turn and then activate her effect during their turn, and then you have 2 Dawn up to use for events. So she kind of nutty, and she's blocker, so she just has infinite value.
Yep.
You could even swing with her in a pinch if you need to.
Yep, but if you want to keep her, you just use Okamawe.
Yeah, exactly.
Range.
She does tend to get removed, but
Yeah.
that's why I like going first in this deck, because against like NL, for example, he still has to deal with her for 1 turn if I go first. Like if I play her going second, then NL turn 2 he has 4 Dawn, he can't get out to her.
Yeah.
So he just has to not swing if he doesn't want me to ramp. So there's some matchups where she'll last at least 1 turn, and sometimes that's all you need. So after her, I got all my 2Ks in my pile here. So first is Beji. He's Beji.
It's your staple. It's your staple 2K for yellow ever since he came out.
Yeah, if you're running any deck with yellow,
you're always
except like Kagura, you're running Beji.
or even Anel. Sometimes Anel doesn't even play Beji. There's no point. Sometimes
Anel doesn't because stuff like Flampe came out,
yeah,
for like better 2Ks for him, and Frankie, stuff like that. But it's just stop any attack. Just yet another way that this card just dodges lethal when it shouldn't, or that this deck just dodges lethal when it shouldn't. And it's 2K, so worst case to 2K in hand. Next is the Mr. 13 Miss Friday. This 2K is like, I mean, it's searchable, and it's the only other. Well, is it the only other searchable Baroque Works? Or 2K Baroque Works? I think it is, but either way, its trigger effect actually can come into play sometimes. Like if you're going second and you played a Miss Valentine, and then your first life is this guy, you could trigger him out so that you're at 5 the next turn instead of 4, because it ramps active. You just trash him in the Miss Valentine, and then you can ramp active to 5 and play a Miss All Sunday or a Gadatsu, or play a Blanc Clay, and then you have 2 Dawn to attach to leader to swing into something. So like, honestly, it's pretty good to trigger play on curve in that specific scenario, but otherwise it's just a searchable 2K. Then we got Miss Doublefinger, and this card is cracked in this deck because it's like Vivi. This card ramps you if you trigger it and use its effect in this deck.
Yeah,
so like, yeah, because you Dawn -1, you get it back active, and then you could play her, trash a card from your hand, you get another one back rested.
Yeah.
So she's not bad if you trigger her early game. You could play her on curve if you need the body, or trigger her on curve if you need the body. But otherwise, you're not going to trigger her. You're going to keep her in hand, unless you desperately need a Dawn open. Then you'll trigger her out just to get the active Dawn.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, and then searchable as well by Miss Valentine. So next we got Bone Clay. Bone Clay's busted. He's in every friggin' purple deck, dude.
Yep, every purple deck.
Yeah, I don't think there's a single purple. Magellan doesn't run him from what I've seen.
Even though freaking I've seen some Hannibal's actually run the Bond Clay, but not Magellan.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. But yeah, broken card is just nothing but advantage, right? Yeah. It's like, even though it doesn't keep the power after it swings, it's like it just ate up a swing, it got you a swing, and it ramped you. and it has counter. So like, yeah, why wouldn't you run it? He's really good on second curve. If you don't see a Miss Wednesday, you just play Miss Valentine into him, and then you're at 7 the next turn, which is why I much prefer first curve. But that's Bone Clay. You're just playing a ramp.
You can go first or second. As long as you have a Bond Clay on board, you'll be fine. Or a Miss Wednesday. You'll be fine.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you go second if you have a Miss Wednesday. That's true. So like you would play like Miss Wednesday turn 2 and
Yep.
Bond Clay turn 3, and then you're at 9 or 10 the next turn. So yeah, he's just there to ramp and just be an annoying body for one turn, take a swing away. Next is Kiku Nojo. I already mentioned it before. She's got the ridiculous play with the Okama, and she'll just trigger out for free. It doesn't cost you anything.
Oh boy.
And I've been thinking about bumping her up to 4 because it feels so good triggering her out. Yeah, like, but I really don't want to take out the Missile Sunday, and I'll talk about why later. But yeah, she's just really bricky in hand is why. But with so many, like, especially if I keep you're the one who should disappear, I would definitely consider running 4 of her. That's like that's probably the number one thing that I might change about this deck is slotting in a 4th Kiku, but she's just kind of bricky is why I don't. But yeah, vanilla statted, you can just play her if you don't have Bond Clay or VV on curve. It's not bad to play even against black or something. If she dies, you'll gain a life, assuming they're at 3 life.
I mean, you could probably switch something out for more of the 0 cost events, and then you could run more Kikus. So if she doesn't brick, or he doesn't brick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because in case you do break with him, you could just trash him for the event card to get plus 3k. I mean, that's just an option, but that's like the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, for sure. There's like a lot of little tweaks you can make for that to like balance the amount of counter, just to make sure you have enough. But yeah, so that's why we're at 3 Kiku. Next is Miss All Sunday, and this card is so broken. I'm just sad that well, one, she's a 5k body, which is like not extremely valuable in this deck, but it's a free body nonetheless. And yeah, it doesn't have counter, but here's why she's kind of cracked in this deck. You can if you trigger her out, or just after you play her, she's well, that's another thing. She's an alternative ramp source if you don't run into these two. Then you could just play her from your hand and ramp to 5 to 6. Like say you just searched a couple times with Miss Valentine or whatever, didn't see much else, then you could just play her to ramp to 6, and then boom, you can play Katakuri or Crocodile the next turn. So she ramps you, and then the other biggest one is if you see her in life, you trigger her out, she's on board, you can play Katakuri, put her back in life, and she will just draw you a card. She's completely free. Because if you haven't leader affected yet during your opponent's turn, then when you Dawn -2 to play her out, you get 1 back active, 1 back rested, and then if you're at 6 or more, you draw a card.
Yeah.
So it's like, I got a trigger body and I drew a card.
And if you have Miss Wednesday on board, you pretty much get the 1 rested back, right? Or like you get the rested one active pretty much when they attack.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Miss Wednesday will always turn 1 active regardless of if you've used leader effect already. So yeah, that's why I keep her, is because the combo with Katakuri is like pretty insane. It builds you a lot of card advantage, and just as an alternative ramp source, and also she's searchable. And you need like a somewhat necessary amount of bricks in this tech, because you're gonna play your Crocs, and your Crocs are gonna draw 1 trash 1 every turn. And sometimes it's hard to choose like what to trash late game, and the Miss All Sunday is an easy pick for late game. Same with like I mean, I want to say Kiku Nojo, but sometimes you keep her just to play her if you have this in hand. So, but yeah, that's Miss All Sunday. Oh, got that out of my system.
Awesome.
Okay. Next up, yeah. Perfect. Next we got Gadatsu, and this card, I regret so hard not running this card in this deck. Like, it is so insane on curve. Like, it is the reason why against red purple law I just choose not to swing. Like, if I have one in hand, I just choose the starve game against them, and it's like, well, maybe I'll get a Raigo trigger, pop whatever. Maybe I'll get pop something good with Gadatsu, and then once I'm at a high amount of Dawn, Yamato is just going to pop anything the red purple law plays. It's all 5 or less. So stuff like that, like the starve game, purple yellow Croc plays really well, and it's how I play against like NL too, and black yellow Luffy. Just don't swing at all until you have to. But Gadatsu, if you're playing that play style, he's gonna pop a 4 cost, a 5 cost even.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's like, it's just a really good card to play on curve if you like already ramped or don't see your like one of these guys. Then you can play Gadatsu even if you're only popping like some 2-drop or whatever they played. But also he has counter.
Yeah, Gadatsu's like,
so
surprisingly, Gadatsu's like the only 5-drop with a good ability and good stats that has a counter, isn't he? Like, I guess Mr. 1,
I mean,
the Mr. 1 that got released in EBO1 has one, because
Purple Kid, dude. Purple Kid's a blocker with
yeah,
an effect
Purple
with the
Kid,
same stats, and he has counter.
Purple Kid, yeah, Purple Kid. And then there's Queen, and that's about it. It's like those 4.
Queen, yeah, there's a few, yeah. But yeah, he's crazy good. Just him having counter is like so huge, because most of my mid-range unit, or half my mid-range units, I guess, don't have counter. But we don't play much mid-range, as you'll see, because next we're talking about Croc, which is truly like so important in this deck. Like,
no,
I don't think people realize how
like definitely
how important he is.
He was made for this 8-drop Croc. It was made for this leader, I would like to say. Like, it was made specifically for him.
I like to think so too, because yeah, it was OPO4 came out the same set, and
like, sure, he's purple.
They knew that he was attached to yellow, so they're like, gain a life.
Like, he's purple, he's not archetype locked, but he's still like mostly used for this leader. So it's like, it's weird.
Yeah,
it's weird because
just him and Blurple Croc can use him so far.
Because like, there's no point in running him anything else. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, especially since he can't gain the life. I mean, in other decks, yeah, sure, you could draw one, trash one, I guess, but I don't think that's really worth it.
Yeah.
So this card's insane in this deck because it trashes all of your bricks because you run a ton of top, like, big bodies and a bunch of events and mid-range units that don't have counter. Yep. And he'll just not just, you know, cycle your bricks out of your hand, but he also helps you find the pieces you need. Like, I cannot explain how many games I'm like, damn, my hand sucks, but I just played a purple Croc, and by the time my next turn starts, I have everything I need.
Yeah.
So, sometimes your deck really is just one card away from not working.
Yeah.
And he helps fix that issue. Yeah, Dawn -2 gain a life. That's the other thing I guess I should mention about him is I don't like playing him unless I'm already, well, unless I have to, first of all, or if I am not already at 10 Dawn, because when you -2 and you use his draw one, trash one, and you want to use a minus event, then you actually do end up usually minusing during your opponent's turn if you do more than one. Like, if you do draw one, trash one, and one event, then you're minusing one during your opponent's turn. You know, so I feel like that's pretty like important to think about, because you have to Dawn -2 when you play him, and you want to try to stay at 9 or 10 Dawn the next turn. So that's why I don't like playing him at 8 Dawn. I'd rather play Katakuri. Oh yeah.
You already have
sometimes he's not situational. Sometimes it's like emergency mode. I need a life.
Yeah.
But if you can get him out at 10 Dawn, it's a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you don't have a Katakuri, though, or even a Yamato, depending what turn you go, and you have Croc, he's okay to play. Because it's one of your big bodies.
Exactly.
So, like, it's quote unquote
He,
situational.
yeah, he gains you a life, and he'll help you cycle towards your other big bodies. You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he doesn't bring any form of like removal, but he extends the game, and that's exactly what you want in this deck.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's 4 Croc. I would definitely never run less than 4 of him. Next we got Katakuri. And this card I already explained how he's so broken with Missile Sunday, but he's also really broken with Kikunojo.
Yeah, because you could just put him back in.
Just stack your Kikunojo. Yep, because she does the same thing as Missile Sunday, except she doesn't draw you a card, and your opponent has to be 3 or less life. But it's, if the conditions are met, it's still really broken. And then he'll remove stuff in those long matchups like Enel. He'll get rid of their Katakuris, their big Paraspero vanillas, or whatever they played. They're playing the 7/9 vanilla nowadays. It looks like.
The 7/9 vanilla?
Which Big Mom Pirate is that? Yeah, it's a 7/9 Big Mom Pirate vanilla.
I run the Compote.
Do you?
Yeah, I run the Compote.
Yeah, Compote.
Compote is such a good like optional big body mid range that you could
Compote.
Yeah, because like if you don't have your big moms, but you want another big body on board, and you have some Dawn left over after you summon it, it's not bad. It's a good card you can play. I only run 2 of it though, and sometimes I like to alternate between the 7-drop Compote or the 6-drop Paraspero. Sometimes I run 1 of each, right? For very situational things, it's like, oh, I have this much Dawn, I'll summon the 6-drop, or this much Dawn, I'll summon the 7-drop instead. They're both vanilla. They're both really good vanillas to have for Katakuri. And that's like the most changing you've ever done to Katakuri, ever in life. Because he hasn't really changed.
Yeah, true.
We went from Randolph, the 6-drop Paraspero, to 7-drop Compote. That's it. That's all we changed. Maybe Reject if you ran Reject in the Katakuri deck, but that's about it.
Yeah, people added Reject, people added the 0-cost event, people added, I saw Gadatsu in a couple, but Gadatsu doesn't make as much sense because
not anymore,
you're just going to swing face a ton.
Exactly.
Yeah, but he would still come into play regardless sometimes.
I replaced my Gadatsus for Kikus. like,
yeah, Kikunojo.
I put Kikunojo in for Gadatsu. I was like, there's no point in KOing, I'm just going to gain a life instead. So it's like...
It's true, she's a really good replacement for that. Purple Yellow Croc, since he plays the long game and he's got the hand filter, I think that's why he can afford to run both and try to find each when he needs them. But yeah, Katakuri, broke a card. Get rid of 8-drop Kid is really important to get rid of.
Yep. Especially since yellow and purple don't really have a big body removal unless you play freaking was it Kingdom
Rygo?
Come?
That's
Rygo, right? No, the purple one, Ragnarok.
Yeah, Kingdom Come's what Rygo is called in the and then Ragnarok in purple touches 8 costs.
Yeah, get rid of a big body because not even Kaido gets rid of big bodies. So it's like,
yep, Kaido gets rid of a 6-drop, so, or the 9-drop anyway.
Katakuri is like the only good option to get rid of those things.
Yeah, so he's really clutch in those situations where you have to get rid of something fast. Otherwise, Rygo is like your emergency. Like I remember there's a couple games where they played like 9-drop Green Zoro.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, bro, you ain't getting rid of Zoro.
All I was doing was like just frantically filtering and searching for my Rygo when they played that. Oh man! But this deck has so much defensive power, though, that you'd be surprised. Like I've beaten boards that have 9-drop Zoro.
Yeah.
Like without having to get rid of it and still winning the game. Like
Bon Clay can take out Zoro.
Ridiculous. Yeah, Bon Clay can get a crazy swing. You're playing 9k bodies constantly.
And even if they did have the 9-drop Zoros, you could just Okama away your Okikus. That's three swings from Zoro, and you could just Okama away like 1 or 2 of them at best. Yeah,
I've lived a turn at 1 life against a green Zoro, just because we got Blast Breath, Okama away, Kikunojo, and Hand Filter.
So
like it's just crazy.
So stupid.
And who knows? Maybe we have a blocker out. Who knows? Maybe we trigger this. Like
maybe we trigger the beige, and he can't attack again.
Exactly. Like, it's
wild,
insane.
Dude.
Last one to talk about is Yamato. this is another card where I would definitely keep Katakuri at 3. I think that's a very comfortable number for him. Yamato, I've been thinking about bumping back up to 4, but anytime I think about it, it means getting rid of one of my like tech cards, like one of these pieces that I really want to have in the deck.
Yeah.
So she's at 3 right now, but realistically you could play 4. But at the same time, because you filter so much and you search so much, usually I'm able to find all the big bodies that I really need. So even though your Miss Valentine can bottom deck your Katakuris and your Yamatos, I feel like I don't know. I just find that you can find them often enough. Like it's pretty dang rare that I'm like, dang, I really need a Yamato right now and don't have one. But you could bump her up to 4, so that would be another thing I would say. But anyway, 9/9, heal 1 if you're at 1 or less, and KO, Rago trigger, equivalent to your and your opponent's life total.
KO at 4.
So she'll pop little blockers. Yep, she'll pop little blockers most of the time is what I find she pops. But if you're in a matchup where they were also starving you out, like an L, I keep thinking of an L, but she'll pop something huge.
Yeah.
In a starve game. But yeah, other than that, she's just she's not as crazy in this deck as like there's been so many turns where I'm like, oh sick, time to play Yamato, but I was like, dang, it's kind of better to play a Crocodile right now because he leaves me 1 extra Dawn up. If my Dawn gets tapped by Hody, I can still get a Dawn up if I have a Crocodile on the field, But if I play Yamato, then it's like I'll leave myself like a little more exposed depending on the matchup. Because
Jones, dude.
It's just 1. But yeah, if there's not something for her to pop, then it's usually better to play Katakuri or Crocodile. But yeah, that's my purple yellow Croc deck.
It's pretty unique, I'll say that much.
Yeah,
right.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
I do have...
Nobody runs Weakness as a Sin, that's for sure.
Yeah, Weakness as a Sin is definitely my most, like, weird pick.
Okay, you are adding the 10-drop ace, I was about to ask.
Yeah, so yeah, here is just cards that you should consider adding. Depending on if you're trying to build this deck, these would be the cards to put. I didn't look closely at OP07 and OP08 cards. I threw the Nami in there.
The Nami I can see you running because of how many triggers you have in your deck. And in case like she's also good to get rid of your Kikus, right? In case you brick with one, because you trash a trigger card to KO something. So if you don't want to play your Kikus, then use her to KO something and trash the Kikus. So it's like she's not bad. She'll trash
Okiku. She'll trash Miss All Sunday. She'll trash. I don't know. Weakness is a Sin.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just don't need the card.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, that's what I like. But this card.
That card is nuts,
what
dude. I don't know what.
This is what I know. You're 100% running as like a 2 or 3 of in purple yellow.
Every yellow or half yellow in the future is going to be running this card. Have to.
Yeah, card's ridiculous.
I think you gain a life, right, and then it gets rush, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's stupid.
So the only reason I think it's not like the quintessential purple yellow Croc card is because it costs 10, so you're gonna pass your turn with no Dawn up.
Yeah.
But if you already have a Crocodile on the board, or you get a trigger out of life that makes you minus, then you'll get a Dawn back up. So it's not a huge deal. Because he gained you a life and a 10k rush.
You know who I could see running this? Freaking Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Since he'll always be at like 3 or 4 health because of him having like a 8 body or a 9 body on board, and then he plays the so he gains a life, and then he has rush, and then he still has the big body on board with leader swing. So it's like even without the Dawn to gain him the life back, he'll still be at 3 to 4 life with 3 swings, and 2 of them are big body. So it's like and one he just summoned, so it's like
I think that I think Queen, Purple Yellow Croc, and NL are the decks that will benefit from this card the most, and Vegapunk.
Oh yeah,
Vegapunk
could use
really
this.
good Vegapunk.
10 drop gain a life, and it's most likely a satellite that goes into your damn life that you gain from this. So like,
and it's rush, which is important with when your leader can't attack.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot Vegapunk cannot attack.
Yeah. So I can just go over the rest of these quickly because these are like,
Yeah, pretty basic and obvious.
it's just like, yeah, you could have this in the deck if you want.
Yeah.
Miss Monday, I don't run in the deck purely because she doesn't have counter, and because my other trigger bodies are just better.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's basically it. This is a good card. If your leader's type's Baroque works, you get plus 1k during the whole turn. So if you trigger her during your opponent's turn, you're a 6k leader. So it's like, hey, that's pretty good, but boy, does it brick in hand if you didn't play her on curve.
Yeah, she's like really only good like very early game. Like if you went first, this would be your 3-Dawn play.
Yeah. But what would you rather do on your 3-Dawn play?
Miss Wednesday.
Miss Wednesday. Yeah, so that's mostly why. Flampe has utility in the deck because this deck has so much defense that if you're fighting against like not blue, like aka someone that can't pudding you and replace your hand with 5 cards, then yeah, it's not that bad an idea to strike yourself and draw a card, just get more draw advantage. And there's a really cool play you can do with her actually. Like if you already have a Croc on field, so you can just minus to gain 1 active, then you could be at 1 life. Maybe it's a face-up life card you don't like. You can just grab it with Flampe and then play Yamato.
Oh yeah.
Peel it back. So she has a lot of utility with Yamato.
Good life cycling, especially with all the triggers you have in your deck.
Yeah. The main issue with her is like, I'd rather keep my 2Ks searchable because I already have one slot of 2Ks that isn't searchable, and that's Beji.
That's Beji, yeah.
And it's like, and it's just a matter of like, do I want to replace Beji with this? And I think the answer is no. But she has some utility. I could see her working in the deck.
Hoshi.
Sure, Hoshi. I mean, just more survivability, right?
Yeah.
It's a blocker that your opponent doesn't want to KO because you'll gain a life.
Yeah.
Simple enough. It's just a matter of like slots in the deck, and I just don't think there's enough room for her. It's kind of the same story with the other Shirahoshi. It's like, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, this card would work in the deck, but like, there's just not enough room. She would help fix your hand a lot, though. But
if you
we already
really
have plenty
wanted
of tools
to, right? You could switch her out for the Miss Alt Sunday because she technically gets you the same amount of cards in hand. You just don't get to ramp. But I mean, you also have counter, and Miss Alt
it's
not counter.
It's definitely that's like a feasible replacement, to be sure. But it's like if you're running the Shirahoshi, you likely don't want to run it as a one of because you kind of want to see it in your life more.
Yeah, that's why I run.
But I could say the same about the 0 cost event though. So it's like,
yeah.
And I only run 1, so it's a story of that. Give anything banished KO 5 cost on trigger. It has counter.
That's a really good card for your deck because all you have is big bodies, so it's gonna be a hard thing to counter banish with.
It's mostly just about how many slots I have. like yes, this card would work great in the deck. Tell us what you would replace, like in the original deck for this card, because I don't know what I would take out.
I don't know either, to be honest with you, because everything else. I mean, weakness is a sin.
Yeah, weakness is it's literally trigger, just there for the red purple ball meta.
Yeah, like the trigger on this card is way better than the effect on weakness is a sin.
Yeah, that's true. And it has counter.
And it's counter. And it's very cheap to play to give something banished. So it's like.
Yeah. So it's definitely it's definitely a card you could fit in there. I've seen a couple run it. Hiyori is just like, what's that? You want to survive longer? Put the 0 cost event in your life.
Yeah. Or swap something out with Kiku.
Yeah.
And then get a swing and then potential Okama away it. So it's like.
Yep. Like maybe your opponent, maybe you put your Kiku Nojo back in life with Katakuri, and then your opponent doesn't want to deal with it, so they start starving you out. Yeah. Okay, I'll just grab it with this, play it, put something else in life. But yeah, it's the 2K slot, so it's just like, do I want this more than Beji? It's the same thing as Flampe.
Yeah. Making me think I could actually run Samurais with Purple Yellow Croc. Because Samurais are yellow.
There's a lot of things you could do with this deck, and honestly, like, you could.
Yeah.
I think the main part of Purple Yellow Croc is just like you have to have Dawn minus defensive events because that's the only way you're taking advantage of your leader ability.
Yeah.
That and Dawn minus triggers,
Yeah.
and then the 8-drop Croc. Everything else is kind of up to you. Like the deck doesn't have a ton of like, oh, you have to play it this way.
Yeah, no.
7 Mama. She's just
mid-range big body works. Gain a life or
yeah.
crash a life. Like what else can you do with her?
There's some games where you maybe didn't see or miss Wednesday, and you find yourself on a 7 Dawn turn, and it's really awkward because it's like, well, my best play on 7 Dawn, if my hand is good, is like Bon Clay into Kikunojo, I guess, because he ramps you active.
Yeah.
So it's like you could do that, but sometimes you just don't even have that. Sometimes you'll just be at 7 Dawn and you have nothing but your big bodies waiting to be played, and you're like, damn, this sucks. So that's why 7 Mom's a feasible slot in the deck, but no counter. And late game, you'd much rather play Croc, Katakuri, or Yamato. So
it's just a cheaper.
That's why I took her out.
Potential.
Yeah, it's just like cheaper big body that you could trash if you don't need, and you could play it on curve if you have a 7 Dawn turn for some reason.
Yeah.
But hopefully you don't. You really don't want 7 Dawn turns on curve in this deck. But yeah, I ran her as a 2 of. It kind of was okay, but I think it's better without her. Hell's Judgment. It's free with leader effect, and it just costs 2. But the reason I don't have it is because... Well, go ahead.
You get the 2. You get one of the 2 back, pretty much.
Yup. So you'll get one of the 2 back. But the reason I don't run it is because you have to have 2 open in the first place, and I can't tell you how often I pass with 1 Dawn or no Dawn open with this deck, and just rely on 8-drop Croc's effect to get me an active Dawn or something if I pass with none. So it's like pretty rare you're going to leave 2 up unless it's really late game and they're trying to kill you. So it's like, yeah, you could run the card, but it's not searchable. The trigger's kind of useless, and
situational for the counter. Or
and yeah,
counter. It's not
like
countering.
minus 3k to 2 bodies is like,
it's okay. It does the job. It really does the job when
it's
you do
really
it with 2
value.
bodies.
Yeah, it's really value, and it's for the turn, right? So if you do it on something that restands, it'll retain, the power minus. But it's just a matter of like, I have 8 event slots. Okamawe is half of them for sure, and then the rest is just up to the meta. And right now it's red purple law, so I would just rather run Weakness is a Sin than this card.
I find it crazy how red purple law is still meta. It's been how long since he came out?
He's gonna be meta through OP08, man. He keeps getting good cards. I mean, he's been meta. He's been meta since like. He's been meta since OP06, I guess. Like since No, he hasn't been meta since he came out. But since like OP06 when he got Reiju.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, he's been decent since he came out, but he hasn't been like broken since Reiju came out.
Now he is. Because purple.
He sure is, darling.
Purple keeps getting more stuff.
Yes, sir. We love purple. Purple's my favorite color.
Purple's getting its time in the light. It's purple's turn.
Yeah. Next we got Colors Trap, which I used to run in my purple yellow Croc deck, but it's just a matter of what's better. But like, you could see the utility. You could swap this out for Weakness is a Sin, because it essentially it does a similar thing, especially for the red purple law matchup. You rest a 4 cost, and
you get the plus 1000 counter.
Yeah, it's only plus 1000 for that battle, but so yeah, you could realistically run this card. It's not bad as an alternative to Weakness is a Sin, but
I'd say you could probably run 2 of each. 2 Weakness, 2 Color Strap.
If I took out my Blast Breaths, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's right. You're running Blast Breath. That's right. That's way
better. I could do 1 of each. That might not be, dude. I might actually just do that. Just do 1 Weakness is a Sin, 1 Color Strap. I don't know. They both have the same trigger, and they're both searchable. So
yeah, but one has more of an one gives you more options.
Like they both do the same thing a little differently.
Yeah.
just comes down to situational. This one's it's the same issue as Hell's Judgment. I'm gonna pass with 1 open very less often than with 2 open, but it's such a broken effect. Dawn -1, you gain plus 2k, and then you rest any of your opponent's characters. So like really good in lethal scenarios when you need to rest a blocker, really good to just get rid of a big body swing. Like, it's pretty nasty. And then lastly is Reject, which I had as a one of in the deck, but it's being banned. It's being banned on the 22nd, and that means we only have a couple days left that it's legal.
Yeah. You know what's funny about Reject? It's
so
like
that would be why.
Yellow. It's like one of Yellow's like interesting and like good effect cards, right? It's got the shittiest trigger.
It's not the worst.
Bro, draw 1 card. There's no point in triggering that.
There's a point in triggering it if I mean, it's better than like if it didn't have a trigger at all, which it's a good enough event to warrant not having a trigger at all. Like, look at Blast Breath.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a very interesting good event. Like, what's the point of the trigger? like
the point of the trigger, like if you're about to die and you need 2k counter and you see this in your life, yeah, you would activate the trigger to try to find more counter.
You know what? At that point, I would have just said take out the trigger, boost it up to 5 to make it cost 5, and then just let you draw a card after you KO something. Right? Like, boost it up to 5 so it's more expensive. Once you KO something, then you draw a card, instead of just like, oh man, trigger, draw a card. and it's possibly nothing to help you.
I mean, that would change the effect a lot, but I guess I'm not against it.
Yeah, like, it would have changed it a lot. Like, you still get the trigger. It costs a little bit more, but you're getting technically 2 in 1 for the first ability. Like, of course, I'm not going to give it to the second ability because you're literally dealing damage to your opponent. There's no that's going to be too broken if you can draw and deal damage. But if you can KO like a character 5 or less and draw something, that's not bad. That's pretty balanced in my opinion.
It's not bad.
It's pretty balanced.
True. Well, that's my purple yellow Croc deck. Thank you so much for watching.
Thanks for the easy content. As much as I would like to make this a deck profile, it's been like 50 minutes of this recording. So we're gonna actually turn this into a past turn podcast, and then we're gonna call it an in-depth look at how purple yellow Croc could be anti-meta. So
there you go.
That is.
I mean, he's not. I guess he's a little anti-meta, I suppose.
He's getting there. He's getting there.
I consider him to be a high tier. Like, I don't think he's like works against the meta too much, because I mean, who's at the top right now besides Red Purple Law?
Isn't it
Gecko Moria?
Gecko Moria. It's still technically
Black Yellow Luffy.
Yeah, and it's also still technically Sakazuki because he's not banned yet.
And Nell, and then technically Sakazuki till the 22nd.
Because I think.
But even then, Sakazuki's not as insane as he used to be, even while still legal.
Yeah. But
I'm still happy he's getting banned. So.
That's what I'm saying too. It's like, why is he getting banned if he's not even that good anymore? Like, I mean, of course he's still
really good.
He's still really good, but like he's not doing what he used to. You know what I mean? Like straight up just like clearing board super easily now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he's still doing it. It's just a matter of the other decks in the meta are
countering it.
Pooping out so many bodies that it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like Red Purple.
That's why I'm like the counter to it is there. Like, people have countered Sakazuki. That's why I don't understand why they're still trying to ban him. Like, there's a lot of counters to get rid of him. So it's like,
I think it's just because with Sakazuki still existing, you have to worry so much about the new cards you make, especially for blue.
Yeah. I guess so
it's just a matter of that mostly. I think was their thought process. But you can bring back Sakazuki all you want if it means we can get rid of 8-drop Moria, because that card is the problem.
Yeah, they need to limit it. I play Perona, and I think they need to limit it. It's just like Katakuri, dude. I play Katakuri, and I still think they need to limit Big Mom. Just like Perona, I think they need to limit Gecko Moria.
Yeah.
It's fine. We need more good black cards anyway, so that Z can be a good leader.
Oh my god. I think more purple film actually would benefit him more, but...
Oh, what if they released black film? Can you imagine?
I can't.
You suck.
I don't want to.
Can you imagine that, dude? Oh, that'd be sick.
Yeah, black.
You just play Buena Fiesta to search for a black film card at KO something.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, that's so true. And is Isho still the only black green deck?
No, Piranha.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Piranha. I'm so dumb.
Isho still sucks.
Yeah, that would get scary if they added and Piranha could do like film searcher Nami into black film stuff. I'd be scared.
Oh yeah, that's right. That'd be sick.
Or wait,
dude.
does searcher Nami only search green film? No, it grabs other colors. I remember that because of
It's film.
green purple Dofi.
Yeah, it's film.
Yeah,
You just grab film.
green purple Dofi used
You
to
either grab film or straw
go
hat.
crazy.
And it has to be.
Yeah, grab straw hats too. That card is so insane.
That's why a lot of people still run it. That's why some people
Yeah.
still run film Dofi, because it's just that combo is just so good. Like it's one of Green's best combos to ever come out. Is a 7-drop into a 4-drop into a 3-drop. That helps you search.
He fell off in the removal meta, but it's still a really good deck if you're not up against remoul.
No,
So-
yeah, definitely.
But they be running the birdcage now mostly. It's pretty rare
No.
you see a film Dofi.
Yeah, I mean that's the video. That's the very first tournament experience I ever posted on the channel. Was me going to my first tournament local,
Cage.
and I lost to the cage Dofi.
Yeah, trapped in the cage, man.
Damn
That card's
you.
insane against a lot of decks.
Damn you, goggles.
Not purple yellow Croc.
Yep.
Purple yellow Croc doesn't give a crap about birdcage. They're just gonna poop out at 8-drop every turn.
Yep. Damn you, goggles, for taking away my first ever win. It could have been my first try. My first tournament local
Goggles.
ever. Yeah, we called him goggles. He took away my very first.
Did you win
try.
your first Lubbock? Your first Lubbock set in Smash?
No. No, I didn't. Because I played every time I would play,
Okay.
even the first time, I got mashed up against all the good players.
I see. Yeah.
And then frickin' Steph had to sandbag me every time we played. The bastard. He'd be like, sorry, Kyle, I'm
Yeah.
sandbagging. And I was like, you know what? You're lucky I can't say anything bad.
You're lucky we're in a public area.
Yeah. I would have had my
Oh, yeah,
answer
but-
me 10 more times moment, but it would have been way worse.
Would it?
Yes. I would have gotten straight up mad.
I can't see you getting mad at Smash in public, dude.
Not like heated to where I throw a chair, but like I would have been a little peeved.
Throw a chair. I gotcha.
But,
Oh yeah, I guess I could talk about matchups real quick.
yeah, that's good. That's
Purple,
easy.
yellow, Croc.
Because I can
Um,
magic like this, post editing. Whoosh! We're back to the past turn screen, the past turn podcast screen.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess first up would be like, I guess I should think about EBO1 meta, and I'll like mention OPO7, OPO8 stuff, but I don't really play. Like I play in Western, so NL I think he wins if you just play lame and starve. It's the same thing with Black Yellow Luffy. You play lame and starve. Red Purple Law, most of the time you play lame and starve, and it works. But sometimes Red Purple Law you're forced to swing anyway, especially if you like don't see a Gadatsu, then you should probably just start swinging. NL you don't need the Gadatsu. You just play lame and you Katakuri his big bodies and you Raigo him and you just have better defense than him. Yes, he has a better leader effect, but I feel like you live lethal scenarios a lot better in this deck than NL does. But I've only ever lost like one match against NNL with this deck, and I've played against a shit ton. There's a lot of them. There's him. I mean, like Red is like fine, but the thing about Red is like, can you out aggress Red Purple Law?
No, not
Until
really.
Until OPO8, the answer is probably no.
Yeah, not really. So best you can do is just play super defensive against it.
Yeah. So Purple Yellow Croc I think does fine against Red. Whitebeard's a little tricky, but I think Whitebeard's like even, because yeah, you're playing on curve and you're not really touching him early game, but you get enough big bodies on the board to be able to threaten lethal. So it's just a matter of like how much value did his ace get, like how much board did he clear with that, you know?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Black Yellow Luffy, I already mentioned. Yeah, you just like stall him out. He's gonna be 9k a shit ton, but just keep developing bodies every turn and not swinging. Like force him to strike himself to 0. Don't swing at all.
Yeah.
And you should just be able to out resource him and outlive him. And then Red Purple Law, really hard. Probably his only losing matchup, I would say, but it's still like doable. It's still very winnable for Purple Yellow
Croc. How defensive you built it.
Yeah, like it'll be really hard for him to get lethal sometimes. Like if he tries to play the long game, he will lose. He has to just, swing face and have removal for my stuff. One part that sucks about the Red Purple Law matchup is he just bottom deck spawn clay for free, no setup needed.
Yeah, that's true. You just have to -3 Dawn, bottom deck him.
Yeah,
but at that point,
so you have
you can just use him as counter, right? So
yeah, he just becomes a counter guard. But sometimes I usually end up playing him out anyway, just because I need to ramp into my big bodies faster. But yeah, pretty unfortunate. You can just get rid of it for free. And then we have weaknesses of sin, and potentially one color scrap.
Yep.
So that card helps a lot in that matchup. Rygo triggers. I know it's only a one of, so it's not fair of me to say like, oh, the Rygo trigger helps me win that matchup because I have one card of it. But like, it genuinely does when it pops off. When you see it in life, it helps so much. But so that would be one reason to run more Rygo. But it's so bricky in hand, so I like sticking to one. Gedatsu, obviously, you're gonna starve him, and all of his stuff is 4. So unless he has a 2-drop Sanji 2K, the one that makes you strike yourself, he's gonna have to deal with Gedatsu and Yamato popping all of his bodies, because everything he plays is 5 or less.
Maybe.
And then what about green? What's the biggest green deck right now? Before Bonnie?
Probably Odin.
Is it really Grape Kofi, dude? Yeah, I guess red green Odin. That matchup's totally fine. He does not have enough gas to kill me, and he doesn't have unless he has perfect curve with 9 beards and is a 8k leader like 3 times in a row. Then I don't. Even then, it's like I have so many ways to just not die.
You have a lot of ways to get rid of his 5 drops too.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I guess that's about it. That's about what people are playing right now. But I don't know. Against like Purple Luffy, that matchup's insanely funny, actually. Because
he's like striking himself to get the Dawn.
Yeah, no, dude. Like every match I play against Purple Luffy, it goes down to the wire. I'm always at 0 life because he aggresses so hard, but he just barely doesn't have the gas to like close it. Usually, I would say the matchup's like even to slight Croc favor, but it's probably even.
I mean, like, even if he does play the 10-drop Luffy, right? It doesn't matter because your life is probably like 4 still or 3 with all the life gain you have. And since he's always striking himself, he'll be lower life than you. And the 10-drop Luffy's just going to have him take an extra turn, but you'll have enough life. You'll have, a good amount of blockers. You have Okama Way. You have pretty much a free 4k counter. So, like, it's not to mention you get to hand cycle if your Croc's out. So,
Yeah.
And then if you somehow survive and you have a Bond Clay on board, that Bond Clay is a 10-drop Luffy. So
it just becomes I mean, Purple Luffy's not. They might tech the 10-drop Luffy, but most of the time they're just playing 9 Kaidos.
9 Kaidos,
yeah. But they might tech the 10-drop to like just to finish a game with. I've seen that. Red Purple Luffy is kind of like Whitebeard, except not as scary. I think Whitebeard's a little more difficult than Red Purple Luffy, because Red Purple Luffy doesn't really have a way to deal with me stalling the game, because usually he relies on the 10 drop to get game, right? But this deck just does not die to 10 drop.
Yeah.
It's got the Kikus, it's got the Okamaways, it's just he's not gonna get lethal with it. But the matchup's still, like, he's aggressive enough that there might be some games, if I just didn't have a good opener, if I didn't ramp fast enough, that yeah, he could get the win.
Dude, I just realized maybe Purple Yellow Croc is the leader that works with Burn D World. Can you imagine?
Let's show the people Burn D World.
Can you imagine that somehow works with Croc and we just haven't realized that?
This is Burn D World. Dawn -8. This character gains plus 792,000 power.
Like, can you imagine that, dude? Like, say you don't have your 8-drop Croc, or you don't have your Katakuri, you play him, and you just save him. Like, you just save him for the final fucking blow.
You know what else is crazy?
What?
This is the only deck that wouldn't die to Burn D World.
Yo, that's a nice 800,000 swing you're gonna do at my Okiku.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yo, that 800 power swing is crazy. Anyway, Miss Valentine's got it.
Anyway, yeah, she's got it. You put put some ton in her, and then she'll be at 12k. Should be enough to hold back the damage.
Oh, but yeah, I guess that's another thing I should mention is, like, obviously it's not the only target for Okamawa's Kikunojo. Like, you're gonna trigger out Miss Valentine's a lot, so she'll be there. If you need Kikunojo for the body, like, if you're gonna live without the extra life, then you should just keep Kikunojo for the 6k body.
Yeah.
While going for lethal. So you could switch to her. You could, like, if you're scared that you have an Okamawa but you don't have a body to, like, switch the attack to, then maybe you could trigger out this double finger. You trigger out this, you can trigger out this, like, you know. So.
Yo, hear me out. Hear me out. Take one of your big bodies out, just one copy, and put Burn D World in. Hear me out, just hear me out. See how it works.
I don't think it's gonna work.
Just to see how it works. Just see how it works. It's also, you know what's also crazy about Burn D World? He doesn't have the film archetype.
Oh.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, that is strange.
Yeah,
no, I didn't.
Archetype.
That's dumb. Is that maybe just a thing in the sim?
You know what? Let me check it up on
TCG or something.
TC Jizzles. Let me see.
Dude, that's insane. If he's not film searchable, he's literally a film villain. Or well, oh, you know why it's not, Kyle?
Why?
It's an OVA.
Oh yeah, it's considered an OVA.
It's an OVA, so he's not film.
He's technically not film.
That's weird.
That is weird. Yeah, that's really weird.
But yeah, Burn D World's a OVA character. So
it's crazy.
Original video animation. Well,
alright then. That's gonna be
it.
Interesting deck you got going there.
I love this deck. It's very fun.
With me on this episode of A Past Turn.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me.
No, yeah. I didn't have a choice. You're really eager, so I had to let you talk.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I have to talk about this deck.
I have to show him this. I have to show him how fire this deck is, dude. It has no right.
Yeah. No, but like low key, dude, in the EVO 1 meta, it really does feel like this deck has no weaknesses other than Red Purple Law.
Yeah.
Like, actually.
Yeah.
There's never a time where I feel like a game wasn't winnable. I guess maybe Gecko Moria. I take it back. But yeah.
Alright then, that's gonna be it for this one. Whatever I make next is whatever's coming out, and whenever I feel like putting out will be there.
Bye.